Hello, my name is Alec Frost, and this is my persuasive speech. My topic is whether or not college should pay student athletes to play for their program. Alright, so in the year 2012, the NCAA made revenue of $815 million. Almost two-thirds of this came from two sports, football and basketball, and along with their $815 million, the NCAA owns $613 million in assets, which are the different teams associated, the Alabama, UT football, North Carolina, Duke basketball, and I think that the players at these top-notch programs that are the ones making the revenue should be paid to play. This graph shows here, this is a couple years ago, the breakdown of the budget in the NCAA. As you can see in football, it makes more than twice as much as the next sport, even though it still makes about a 33 to 40% profit off of how much it costs. So essentially football pays for every other sport except for basketball, which is the only other profitable sport. I think that it's only fair that the students who are in the best conferences that make this money should be paid for the amount of money that they bring in. The reasons for this include the main reason that they are the cause of this revenue. People aren't paying just to see these brands. They aren't paying to see the coaches or anything else. They're paying to see these players play these sports. And I think that that is the most important reason that morally these players should be paid. Because morality and college should both go in together very well, because these coaches are trying to make student athletes into the best people that they can. And part of it should be that they should be paid a small amount of money each month for the amount of revenue they generate for their school in these profitable sports. I think that one of the other reasons is because the reason that there's been a large rise in revenue at many of these schools is because of sports. At non-academic institutions like Alabama, LSU, other power conference schools, the main reason that these schools are getting in large money from their boosters is because of the sports revenue and not because of academics in any way. And I think that due to this, that the players should be paid for their part in bringing in this money. Right here is a breakdown of the NCAA revenue. 81% of it comes from television, only 11% from championships. However, I still feel like championships are a very big part because that's 100% the players. The television, again, is paying for the players. According to this chart, I believe only 4% of NCAA revenue comes from investment. I think that instead of allowing boosters to only generate to the school, that boosters should be allowed to give to the conference and to the NCAA, so that there's a greater amount of dollars invested that can be going to the players instead of just coming from television money, which is some that should be going to the players anyways. Well, what issues come up if you want to bring payment to college players? Well, there's a balance of power in recruiting and in different conferences, because simply put, some schools do have a lot more money to spend on sports than the others. Some schools do make a lot more revenue on sports than the others. And because of this, there will be a balance of power if there's an unlimited amount of payment scale, which is why I think that athletes should only be allowed to be paid about $1,000 to $1,500 a month from the school if they would like to pay them that much, because otherwise there could be an advantage in recruiting, and otherwise that would be created from this money. So you have to keep it on a fair scale to where everybody can do it. Another big issue is gender diversity. There's been a lot of recent court cases in the United States, and at which this point you have to be able to pay men and women. So if a college basketball conference is profitable for women, you have to pay them too. I think that's the case. Another big key would be booster involvement, because right now most of the athletes get their money from the boosters. And if athletes were allowed to be paid, there'd be some gray room there to where the boosters can pay, the athletes can take money. But if it's a more controlled system to where the athletes are getting money from the school, the athletes are only allowed a certain amount, then there is no gray area. It's very black and white to how much they can receive. Right here is another chart that shows the breakdown in red. Right here on the left is the women's, right here is the men's. Expenses, revenue. It shows that the men's sports essentially pay for the women's sports. However, I think that if men's basketball specifically, the players were getting paid, they would stay in college longer, which would increase the product, increase the revenue, and help out everyone. The big question though would be who would pay the players. I think that the proper thing to do would be that the NCAA pays the conferences, which stipulates out certain amounts to each school that they can pay the players depending on how much the conference makes. The conference is how they split TV money already anyways. So if this was how they paid the players based on a conference basis, it would allow recruiting and inter-conference competition to remain fair. The conclusion, I think that the players in just football and basketball should be paid as long as their conference is profitable, only up to a certain amount per month. I know that sounds like very strict requirements to be paid, but these players are bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's only fair that they get some cut of the money that they're generating. I think that's the real issue, is morality, regardless of everything. These are my sources. All right, thank you.